Hello and welcome to this week's Team Leader Toolkit Nuts and Bolts. Great to have you here. Thursday comes around so quickly, doesn't it? We've got a great one on today. A question came through about why won't my team speak up? So we're going to talk today about the 4 main common reasons why your team won't speak up. We're also going to have a quick discussion on why you need them to speak up, really, really important, and the things that you can do to try and get them to participate a little bit more. So we've all been in that situation where you're in a meeting and, you've got your team in there and you're saying, hey, we're getting this new thing, this new piece of equipment or this new change is coming through. So, what do you think about it? And all you hear is crickets, nothing. Or you could be in a weekly team meeting and you want participation, you want people to talk about things on the floor, and you get nothing, no contributions, no participation whatsoever. And it can be really, really, really frustrating. So this is all about the 4 main reasons why your team won't speak up, the reasons why you want them to speak up, and then some clues on how you can get that done. So let's start. All right, so number 1 reason why your team might not speak up. It could be because you're not listening. So in the past, if your team members have come up with some ideas, some creations, some innovation, and you've sort of poo-pooed the idea, or you've listened and then not done anything about it and not followed up. So you might have gone and taken their ideas up higher. Management have clamped it on the head and said, no, we're not going to do that. But if you haven't gone back down to your team and said, oh no, the reasons we can't do it is because of this, and this, then all they know is they've said something and nothing's got heard. They've heard crickets from it. So if you don't have that communication loop working, then they're going to think that you're not listening to them. Also, if you have had ideas, if they have had ideas and they've brought it to you and you've poo-pooed them or said, no, that's not going to work, and pretty much, stuck the nail on the head, or the head on the nail, or whatever that saying is, then unfortunately, at some point, they're just going to say, well, whether we have ideas or we're silent, the results are the same, so we might as well just not say anything. So that's the number 1 reason, is that you're actually not listening. Or if you are listening, you're not got that full communication loop where you're coming back to them and saying why you can't implement a particular idea or innovation that they've come up with. The second one is they might have stopped speaking up because they don't care anymore, which is a real worry, isn't it? So this is where you've brought in a new idea, or you want to change the structure of your team, or there's a new equipment coming in, and they all sit back and go, we've seen this before, it didn't work then, it's not going to work now. And suddenly that caring, that empathy, that wanting to, evolve and change is totally gone. And that's a real issue if you're trying to improve your team. Okay, so that's the second reason. So they've stopped caring. So the first one is you're not listening. So we've got lots of things that we can do to change that. The second one is they've stopped caring. They've seen things happen and they've seen it get thrown out again a few months later, and then they have another change and that gets thrown out a few months later. If that happens on a constant constant basis, then you're going to find that they're just going to stop caring and they're just going to come in and tick the box, check the tick box, and then walk out the door. The third reason, because they're scared. The reason why your team might not be speaking up is because they're scared. They're scared of any sort of retributions. They're scared of the reactions from their boss. So I'll tell you, there was this one manager that I was coaching, and he was from Italian background. So he was very animated in the way he spoke. It was just his cultural thing. That's what he did. And a lot of times team members have come to him and have an innovation or tell them about a breakdown or whatever. And his reaction would be, oh, no, oh, my God. And he'd be really animated in his response. And that made the team scared to come and approach him because of his response. Now, what they didn't realise is that was just his normal response. But their perception of that was, oh, the boss is not happy with me. I'm not going to go and approach him anymore. This obviously didn't work, or whatever it may be. So they might be scared to come and actually approach you because of your reactions that you've had in the past, or because they fear some sort of retribution of what might happen. So that could be another reason. So that's our third reason. So the first reason is you're not listening. The second reason is they don't care anymore. The third reason is they're scared. The fourth most common reason is the team culture that you might have resists change, whether that's new innovations, new equipment, new structure changes, org design, whatever it may be. They resist change because it's a cultural thing in that team, which is really, really hard to change. So if you hear things coming up, things like this is the way we've always done it, or this is just how it works here, or we've tried this before and it didn't work, or just this is just the way the place is. If you hear that on a regular basis, you know you've got a cultural sort of issue there, which stems from a long time ago. And every time that those phrases, you know, oh, we've done that before, it didn't work, oh, this is just the way it always is, as soon as those phrases come out, it actually reiterates and cements that culture. And we need to try and change that. And let me tell you, culture is one of the hardest things to change because it takes a long time. You have to keep chipping away at it. People will stop suggestions for change. People will stop suggesting improvements because, no, we don't do it like that here. This is how we've always done it. This is how we always should do it. So we need to think about, is that team culture resisting change? Is it resisting innovation? And if that's the case, we need to sort of try and chip away at that and try and change it. So let's go through those four again quickly. Number one, they might not speak up because they are because you don't listen. I had to check my notes. They might not be speaking up because you haven't listened in the past, or you haven't communicated anything that you might have taken higher, and you haven't communicated the results of that. Number two, because they've stopped caring. So all of a sudden, you know, they don't give a toss anymore. To come to work is just a tick in the box. Number three, because they're scared. They're scared of your reaction. You may have reacted in the past in a way that made them feel fearful to come back to you again. They might fear retribution, all those sorts of things. And number four is that you have a cultural issue, and that's a hard one to change. It is changeable, but let me tell you, it's not going to be easy. All right. So why do you need your team to speak up? This is really, really important. You need them to speak up for a variety of reasons. And just some of those reasons are that you need them to tell you when you're wrong. So we come into this role and we're enthusiastic and we're keen and we can see some changes and we can see how we can make a difference. And we come in with all these enthusiastic innovations and ideas. It's great to put those to the team and say, okay, tell me what's not going to work out of this. I'm going to think that we should change this structure and have this and have 3 shifts instead of 2, and to come and tell me all the things wrong with that. You want them to be able to say, no, you're nuts. We can't do that because of X, Y, Z. And have you thought of, you know, this, that, and the other? And these are things that you need to talk through with your team to get any sort of buy-in or skin in the game with any sort of innovation you're going to bring. And if there's going to be crickets in that meeting, you can bet your bottom dollar that change is not going to come in. So you want them to be participatory, and you want them to get in there and give you some reasons why it won't work, as well as what are the good things about it as well. So you need to do that. So how can you get them to speak up? So encourage feedback on your ideas. Make sure you say, listen, this is just an idea of mine. I think it's brilliant. I know there's holes in it, but I can't see them. Tell me where they are. You know, encourage that feedback. Let them tell you that you're wrong, and that's okay. Take that feedback on and go, okay, I can see your perspective. I've got my perspective. You've got yours. Both of them have got some real good merit in there. Let me go away and have another rethink, or whatever it may be. Get them to share your ideas and tell them what parts they think would work and what parts need tweaking. If they get involved, if they feel like they were there from the conception of whatever change or whatever innovation that you think you're bringing in, then they will be more liable to be on the bus for that change. Okay, so if you come in guns blazing saying, we're doing this as of tomorrow, woohoo, you can bet your bottom dollar that's not going to happen. Okay, so make sure you involve them in the feedback. Tell them, hey, listen, I've got blinkers here. I think this is a brilliant idea. I think it's going to make a huge difference, but I know there's holes in it and I can't find them. Tell me where they are, you know, so have those sorts of conversations. Be really, really upfront, honest and open with your team. Another reason you want them to speak up is because you want to listen to their good ideas. Okay, they've been there for probably longer than you in some cases. They've been there, they've seen some changes, they've seen some bits and pieces, they've had new equipment come in, they've had new people come in. They may have some ideas about what can change, what can make things better, how can I make that changeover quicker, you know, how can I make that piece of equipment work better, how can I get this customer service up and, you know, better than what it is, how can we reach that KPI quicker. You want their ideas, you want a diverse team of diverse thinkers. So we need to encourage that. So how do we do that? Okay, so if they do have any sort of idea, any sort of innovation, you need to give credit where credit's due. So if something comes in from your team and they say, hey, we're going to do this little tweak change here, it's actually going to save us, you know, 15 minutes on that changeover on that machine, and it works, put that to dollars and cents value, take it to management and say, Joe on the floor came up with this idea and it's just saved us $10,000 a year. And all of a sudden, everyone's patting Joe on the back going, great idea, man. That is going to encourage more innovation, more ideas from the floor. Give them the credit where it's due and make sure that they get that recognition. If there is an innovation they come up with and you can't implement it for whatever reason, maybe there's a cost factor, maybe management don't want to do that because they've got other things coming in, whatever it may be, make sure you keep that communication loop going and go back to Joe and say, Joe, I think that idea was brilliant. Management haven't got the budget for this right now, so we're going to wait to the new financial year and then going to reapply with your idea. So at least Joe or whoever on the floor has had that feedback, that he's been recognised that he had a great idea, it's been listened to, and it can't be implemented for whatever reason at this time. So make sure you got that communication loop going and give them that feedback that they deserve. Another reason why you want them to speak up is because you want them to be informed. Okay, you want them, if they're not going to speak to you, they probably won't speak to each other very much either. So we want to keep them informed, and you can't be everywhere at once. So there's going to be times when your teams need to talk to each other and communicate. So you want to make that an example of that's the way you want to go forward. So you want to make sure that, you know, if somebody on another team is doing stuff and it's doing really, really well, it might be on a separate shift to you, but things are working really, really well. You want to be able to bring that innovation into your team. So you want them to start talking with each other about how this is working and how it's making a difference and how it's making their job easier. So the more that they're talking, the more that they're sharing, the more that they're contributing, that means that they'll contribute more together as well and into teams. And that's what you want, because you can't be everywhere all the time. So I think that would be really good. Okay, so let's go. The 4 common reasons why your team won't speak up. Number 1, you haven't listened to them in the past. So they go, whatever, if I say something, if I don't, the result's the same, so why bother? We don't want that. Number 2 is they've stopped caring, which is a real shame. So we need to put that passion back in there. We need to motivate. We need to excite them. We need to find ways that we can get them to care again. And that's, you know, a lot of listening on your part. Number 3, because they're scared. So have a look at yourself, self-reflect on how you've reacted in the past. Have you reacted quite animated? And as much as that might be the way you do things, how does that impact and affect others? So do they suddenly become fearful to come to you because they don't want you to react in the same way? They don't want to disappoint you. They don't want to upset you. They don't want to, you know, they're fearful that they're going to be some retribution. So just be careful that you're not doing that. And number 4, because the team resistance to change is a cultural thing. So, oh, this is the way we've always done it. You know, this company hasn't changed for 20 years and we've been going all right now, so why should we change? We've tried this before and it didn't work. This is just the way the place is. Those sorts of comments tells you that the team has a culture that is resistant to change and innovation. And we need to try and step back and go, okay, so how are we going to chip away at this? And you being open with new sort of innovations coming down the line or changes or whatever helps that, by involving them from the very, very beginning. This is what's being talked about. This is what we're thinking about doing. Obviously, if there's confidential stuff there you can't share, fair enough, but not all of it's confidential. So there's bits of it that you can share. So share that. That communication piece is really, really important. And when somebody comes in with an innovation or idea, then recognize and reward that person accordingly. And I don't mean incentivize monetarily or financially, whatever. What I'm saying is people get incentivized by getting recognition they deserve. So if somebody's come in with a brilliant idea, it goes to management, they've come down, clapped them on the back, they've got clapped on the back by the third sort of level up, that's enough recognition that they're going to do it again because they like that feeling. Okay, so I hope that helped. We need to have that participation and contributions from the team. Really, really important. You cannot have every decision, idea, innovation. That's not your job. Your job is to try and create that through the team as well as yourself. Create it by encouraging that participation, encouraging that feedback, encourage them to innovate and have ideas. So I hope that helps. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Don't miss out on next week's. It's going to be a beauty. It's another question that came through ask@teamleadertoolkit.com. So if you have a question, a burning platform, an issue, a concern, anything at all, please contact me on ask@teamleadertoolkit.com and we will make a video of it and we will send it out to you. All right. Have a brilliant day. Until I see you. Bye for now. Cheers.